In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a marketing brand voice. This is really important for copy, and it's something that I think a lot of really good copywriters do, whether they're copywriting for themselves or they're doing copy for other people, is coming up with that really solid brand voice. I'm going to do a few things today. I'm going to show you how I create a brand voice, and then I'm also going to show you my sample document, and I'll give you a copy of that so you can use it to kind of guide you. Okay, first, this is where I keep my brand document. I keep all my important links and stuff in here so that I don't have to constantly go searching for it. You could use a Notion database or Notion base. You could use a ClickUp, Gang, Asana, Trello. There's so many options. Spreadsheets work for me, so that's what I'm using. So let's go ahead and click on my brand voice. So here's what mine looks like. I talk about, I asked ChatGPT to help me analyze it. And so it says it's relatable and conversational. And then it gives an example. So instead of streamline your business processes and maximize efficiency, I might say something like this. Now, there's still a few things that I'd edit in here, but I'm going to show you how to create this, especially with the examples. I think that's really helpful for ChatGPT to really understand what it is that you want. So then let's go ahead and create it, and then I'll show you how I would edit this also. So here I'm starting with this one. I want you to help me define my brand voice. Let's start by reviewing everything we've talked about. Now, if you're using Claude or if you're using ChatGPT for the first time or you haven't used it in a while, you may not have a lot on the brand voice tone. So I'm going to include an alternative prompt as well. If you, or maybe you're writing for someone else, if you're doing that, then instead of having it review what you talked about previously in the chats, you're going to give it examples, example writing that really showcases your voice. But either way, we either need an example or we need it to review what you've talked previously. I like what it said here, but one thing I actually forgot to ask is I wanted it to ask me questions if it has any that will help it clarify. So I'm going to go back out to the first prompts, click that edit message, that little pencil, and then say, if you have any clarifying questions, please ask them. All right, so it's starting to give me some answers, but now I want to actually begin to edit it. So here where it says words I would use, I wouldn't use words like overwhelmed because those are so overused. And so I'm going to go ahead and start to tell it those things. This is correct. I wouldn't use transform, streamline, game changing, empower your brand. Yeah, I would use those and for the reasons that it says here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, paste it on here, and start to edit. So words you would use, relatable and conversational phrases. So I'm going to add this little caret. This is basically just to help me find where I'm writing a little bit easier. You don't need to do that if you don't want to. So let's see. I would use these sentiments, but not these words because they're overly used, cliche, and lack because they're used so often. Instead, I might say, now this part's really important, giving it examples, not only saying, here's why I don't like it, but also here's some examples of what you can do instead. So here I gave it some examples of what I would say instead. So instead of busy, I would say something a little bit more specific, like you're so overwhelmed with your daily to-dos, you're not quite sure you'll ever get out from under it. I really want to bring in more of that feeling and that emotion. So I'm going to say that too. Now this next one has specific descriptors. That looks good. So I'm just going to say, yes, that's correct. Empowering realistic terms, small changes, consistent progress, figure out what works, building momentum. Yes, and that sounds a bit jargony, businessy. Find a way to say it in a more conversational tone. And then this one, visual storytelling, that moment when imagine opening your laptop to find picture starting. I don't like the imagine or picture, so I'm going to say that. Okay, so I said what I was looking for. And then here it says humor and playfulness when appropriate, quirky, unexpected imagery. So I asked for some examples on that. So then the words to avoid, that's accurate. What makes me different? Let's see. Anything that I'm like, I'm not sure about this, I would change or I would ask it to change. But so far from what I'm seeing looks pretty good. Yep. Okay. Okay. So then we have the questions. So I'm going to copy and paste the questions, put them down here so I can answer them. All right. Is there a specific audience segment you feel most connected to? What would you like your voice to lean more towards professional? I prefer, okay, so I'm going to say casual and relatable. Do you want humor to play a larger role in your brand tone? Situational is fine. How much do you want to highlight your own story? Okay. One side note here for your own story, I would recommend starting a story bank. So what I try to do is every day or every few days, I'll just sit down for a few minutes and write what happened that day or write just a little bit about my life. Sometimes I'll record it on voice also and then use the transcripts. But I really wanted to kind of have a picture of who I am, what my life looks like so that I can add those kind of stories in as well. Right. So after I have given my feedback on my brand voice and what it gave me, it's going to give me a new updated version. And then I'm going to continue to give it feedback one more time. Now that we've given it feedback, I'm going to go ahead and do the next prompt. And this prompt, I'm basically asking it to rewrite what it wrote before, except with the updates based on what it knows. I also added for structure, file right, style choices, tone notes, and nuances. Here we go. And finally, I'm just going to look over, make sure there's nothing else that I want to edit. And if I like it, I'm going to copy and paste it into my Google Doc that has my updated brand. And that's it. Now, this is something that I would use with ChatGPT or Claude when I have an offer I'm working on, or really any other kind of copywriting. Even for doing things like social media, this is going to be really helpful for that as well. And if you have somebody on your team that's helping with any of those things, you can hand this to them to use with AI or choose on their own as well.